The president today is showing White House counsel Don McGahn the door, pushing out yet another central witness in Robert Mueller's obstruction of justice investigation. Trump took to Twitter to confirm McGahn's imminent departure, first reported this morning by Axios. Quote, White House counsel Don McGahn will be leaving his position in the fall shortly after the confirmation, hopefully, of Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court. I have worked with Don for a long time and truly appreciate his service. Only here's the thing. According to a new report from the Washington Post, though it was an open secret that McGahn was preparing to leave the White House after Kavanaugh's confirmation process, McGahn had never discussed his plans directly with Trump, and he was not aware that Trump planned to send that tweet before it was posted, according to a person close to McGahn. McGahn's anticipated departure is taking on a greater significance after a bombshell last week from the New York Times underscored the extent of his cooperation with special counsel Robert Mueller, a report that rattled Trump's lawyers, who have admitted since to the New York Times they don't know what McGahn may have shared with Mueller in testimony that is now believed to be critical to Mueller's obstruction probe. The president nonetheless praising McGahn this afternoon in the Oval Office.
He's a good man, very good man. Don, excellent guy. Yeah, Don McGahn's a really good guy. Been with me for a long time. Privately before this, he represented me. He's been here now, it'll be almost 2 years, and a lot of affection for Don. And he'll be moving on, probably the private sector, maybe the private sector, and he'll do very well. But he's done an excellent job.
Any concern about what he said to the Muellers?
No, not at all. Not at all. I knew he was going also, as you know, I had to approve it. So we didn't claim executive. No, I don't have to be aware. We do everything straight. We do everything by the book. And Don is an excellent guy.
The president claims he's not worried, but in fact, in his time at the White House, McGahn has been a central figure in flashpoints of Trump's presidency. We now know Mueller is closely examining, including the firings of James Comey and Michael Flynn, attempts to fire Robert Mueller, pressure on Attorney General Jeff Sessions to retake control of the Russia investigation, and concerns of witness tampering. In fact, McGahn has long served as one of the guardrails protecting Trump from his impulses to cross the line into the Mueller probe by doing things like firing key officials. So it's curious timing that Trump is nudging McGahn out on the very day we're learning from the Washington Post that Trump has recently revived the idea of firing Jeff Sessions, another key Mueller witness. Joining us now from the Washington Post, White House Bureau Chief Phil Rucker and national political reporter Robert Costa, also moderator of Washington Week. And with me here at the table, Mimi Rocah, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, and Frank Figliuzzi, former FBI assistant director for counterintelligence. Frank, I want to start with you, and I want to get a scene center. The president is pushing out Don McGahn, who just sat for 30 hours of testimony with Robert Mueller. Don McGahn, who was in the room, or at least aware of all of these things regarding the firing of James Comey, of Mike Flynn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Don McGahn, who was with him since June 2015. And the president says, no, I'm not worried.
Yeah, sounds good, except it can't be true. You don't spend 30 hours being interviewed by the special counsel's office to simply shoot the breeze. This was the inside guy. This was the guy that tried to talk the president out of doing really stupid, possibly illegal things. What this provides to Mueller is intent to obstruct. Why was it that he wanted the AG to recuse himself from the investigation? What was he thinking when he fired Jim Comey? Was he dangling pardons before people and talking about it with McGahn? This is the damage that he can do. Is
it better to have him in the White House still, or to have him outside of the White House, given all that?
So let's remember something. The White House counsel works for us, you and me. Doesn't work for the president. He's not his attorney. So in my opinion, it would have been better to have him remain in place and continue to consult or be interviewed by the special counsel, as opposed to having him now outside. I don't see the difference there.
Couldn't he, go to McGahn and say, hey, let's talk more about what you said in front of the special counsel? Isn't it easier for the White House lawyers, for Donald Trump's lawyers, to get to McGahn if he's in the West Wing still?
Well, McGahn may very well have sent signals that he's not someone who can be gotten to. And I think by going ahead and doing the
Consulted, at least, if not gotten to.
Right. But either way, I mean, McGahn very likely was, advised by Mueller that he shouldn't talk to anyone about the testimony he gave. McGahn is represented by Bill Burke, who's a former Southern District prosecutor and is very, savvy and, straight shooter. And my guess is told McGahn not to talk to anyone about his testimony. I mean, and so they probably wouldn't have given information, even if asked. And that may be one of the sort of things that happened once they found out that McGahn did testify for so many hours. You're not going to tell us about it? Okay, see ya.
Robert, Mitch McConnell said it would be a sad day if this was true. In fact, it is true. The president tweeted about it. Senator Grassley also criticized the decision. He sent out a tweet, saying, "I hope it's not true McGahn is leaving White House counsel. You can't let that happen." So, Robert, how did this all go down?
There's a real sense of unease on Capitol Hill, talking to my sources there in the last few hours, because they see McGahn as a link to traditional republicanism. He's a conventional figure inside of an unconventional White House. He's helped them stay steady as a party on one core area, on the judicial nominations, even as there's disarray and disagreement across the rest of the Trump agenda. On that facet, they've had agreement, and he's had a close relationship with Leader McConnell, and they've been able to get one and maybe even two in the coming weeks Supreme Court justice nominees through. And now they're worried about how does that continue without McGahn.
How did it go down, though, in the White House? Did McGahn know? It seems like from the reporting, McGahn didn't know about this before it happened.
That's correct. Based on our reporting here at the Post, McGahn was not aware that the tweet was coming. It was well known that he would likely leave after the midterm elections, after Kavanaugh was confirmed, if confirmed, in the coming weeks. But the president has decided to do it on his own without consulting McGahn first. But this is how the president often behaves. And McGahn's associates have been telling friends today it's been death by Twitter or announcement by Twitter, personnel-wise, for many people inside of this White House.
Yeah.
And so it's not that surprising. That's how it was for McGahn.
Let us count all the folks that have been fired by tweet in this administration so far. Phil Rucker, McGahn wasn't the only one who knew about this. Sarah Huckabee Sanders asked this morning if this was happening, and she said no.
Well, look, I mean, there's a question of whether there were intentions for McGahn to eventually leave at some point this fall after the midterm elections or after Kavanaugh. That was sort of widely assumed and widely discussed inside the president's orbit. That's different than an actual departure announcement that the president tweeted. Clearly, the president decided to do that tweet on his own. He wanted to sort of leave his imprint on this personnel move. He doesn't like for people to leave on their own accords and on their own timelines. He likes to sort of be the one to show people to the door, and we've seen it time and again, and we saw it again today with McGahn.
So, Phil, could this be the president being prompted by Axios reporting and wanting to get a leg up on the idea that McGahn might leave on his own accord? Is this why his own White House communications staff doesn't even know about it? It seems like there are so often scenarios where we hear from someone like Sarah Huckabee Sanders or the like in the comm staff, Kellyanne Conway, saying the president has confidence in somebody, or no, they're not going to fire a person, only for the president to send out a tweet a couple hours later. It seems like there's nobody in the loop in that White House except for the president and whoever he may be talking to from Fox News.
Well, Katie, I don't know what exactly inspired the president to send that tweet this morning, but he calls his own shots. The idea that the staff prepare these rollouts and have tweets drafted for him is preposterous. He sits there and decides sort of on a whim when he wants to make an announcement like this, and that's what happened here. And it caught the staff by surprise. I don't think Sarah Sanders was doing anything intentionally, sort of trying to mislead the public or anything like that, and saying this was not part of the plan, because I don't think it was part of the plan until he decided to send that tweet this morning.
Let's talk about the intersection between Robert Mueller, Jeff Sessions, and Don McGahn. We have this reporting from the New York Times back in March. McGahn carried out all the president's orders and lobbied Mr. Sessions to remain in charge of the Russia inquiry, according to two people with knowledge of the episode. Mr. McGahn was unsuccessful, and the president erupted in anger in front of numerous White House officials, saying he needed his attorney general to protect to protect him. Mr. Trump said he had expected his top law enforcement official to safeguard him the way he believed Robert F. Kennedy, as Attorney General, had done for his brother John F. Kennedy and Eric Holder had for Barack Obama. Then there was this idea that McGahn was going to resign because the president was telling him to tell the New York Times their reporting was not true, and the New York Times reported this very fact.
Right. So, once again, Trump is viewing his attorney general as someone who's supposed to protect him personally, and he's viewing apparently the White House counsel as someone who is supposed to carry out his personal orders like this. And neither of those things are true or the way that it should be. And the fact that both of these men, you can, whatever else you may agree or disagree with what they are doing or have done, they both seem to be loyal to their office, right? Sessions is, nope, I recused properly. This is what I'm doing. This is what the Justice Department guidelines require me to do. McGahn's, apparently taking the position that I'm not going to carry out these ridiculous orders that Trump is trying to impose on Sessions to get him unrecuse himself. And that's why one is sort of being forced out and one is likely to be fired.
Sessions is also somebody who is a witness in Robert Mueller's probe. It's not just McGahn.
Yeah, so we're looking increasingly now at an unchecked president and no one left to even try to balance his actions out. And if that happens, the domino effect may start. So he's talking increasingly about getting rid of Sessions. We're hearing prominent Republican senators kind of giving the blessing for that. And the danger signal to me is we're hearing people say, well, as long as he picks an attorney general who lets Mueller finish. Letting Mueller finish is only half the equation. How you properly deal with Mueller's report, Mueller's potential request to subpoena the president for interview, Mueller's potential request for permission to indict a sitting president. If a new attorney general is there and he's a lackey for this president, look out.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.